Arcane is a gorgeous series. I think everyone can agree on that. The characters are well written, at least in my opinion. I've never played League in my life and don't plan to, and the story is genuinely heartbreaking, but also so insanely beautiful. All of the artists and writers at Fortiche Productions and Riot Games should be applauded for their amazing work. But there's something beyond just appreciation that we can get from Arcane. We can see exactly what we as artists need to be doing when we are creating character designs and worlds. If I can eventually get into the art industry or the games industry in general, I would love to be a concept artist or a character designer, and I try to improve with every character design challenge video that I make. Part of that process, though, is trying to make sure every character and every world is not only respectful, but also incredibly diverse at the same time. There's a large problem in the art industry, especially within games, that really focuses on stereotypical and often very hurtful tropes within character design, and that really needs to change. We've got backbreaking body models and over-sexualized character designs, thanks Overwatch. We have characters that are caricatures of other cultures and little to no diversity, or a poor excuse for diversity. Genshin Impact, I'm looking at you. Even my beloved TTRPG Dungeons & Dragons is steeped in awful design choices that they're barely trying to phase out or make better. But Arcane, a TV show based off of League of Legends, which has a horrific fandom and player base, somehow broke that mold. And I'm going to tell you exactly how they did it and why and how we need to incorporate more of that as artists. We've all seen character designs like this, right? It happens a lot with characters that are from a perceived tribal or indigenous culture. I cannot escape one single Pinterest image search of barbarian D&D character design without seeing this crap eventually. It's an overdone and frankly racist stereotype. Large IPs like D&D, Dragon Age, Genshin Impact, and Diablo are rife with this kind of stuff, but Arcane seems to have never touched upon it. Not one person is dressed in this fashion, and that may be because of the large majority of the fashion is based on Victorian and Art Nouveau styles, as Arcane is fairly steampunk in nature. But even parts of D&D and Genshin Impact are like that, yet there's people who look like this. Now, not everyone is perfect. There might be some stereotypes or tropes that I'm not very well educated on that are very pervasive in Arcane, but I haven't seen any as far as I know. In Arcane, diversity is treated very, very well. There's POC main characters, and they all have varying skin tones as well as protective hairstyles. Not one of their color palettes is ashy, whereas Genshin Impact characters, for example, not only have a large cast of POC characters with incredibly pale skin tones, but every single darker toned character is picked from the gray side of the color wheel. Not a good look, Hoyoverse. As character designers and artists in general, we really need to be more sensitive and respectful, and unfortunately that's not what you see a lot of, even in 2024. Even with the caricatures aside, we haven't seen a lot of good representation within the realm of gender identity and sexual orientation either. Sure, Overwatch, about 6 years into their run, announced that Tracer was a lesbian and gave her a girlfriend, and then also announced that Soldier 76 was a gay man, and since then has confirmed varying degrees of identity for its characters, like Venture being non-binary and Lifeweaver being bisexual, but it wasn't right out the gate. Riot Games has had canon lesbians in its lore for years, I've learned, and at the very start, both Kate and Vi were going to be together. Same with Jace and Viktor. Heck, we even got trans representation in Lest, though I would like to see Riot have more gender diverse characters in the future. The point is, though, that they treated these characters with kindness, not only in their writing, but also in their designs. They could have made Jace and Viktor incredibly flamboyant and largely stereotypical, but they didn't at all. They're both scientists with differing personalities and goals that so happen to be in love with each other. As a Kayn user, I was very happy to see that his character design evolved over the course of the series, but never strayed from showing him with his Kayn unless it wasn't physically with him. There are a lot of things that we need to be thinking about when we draw or create character designs, and it's not just what color palette we need to be using or what kind of gradient you want on their shoes. It's about being respectful and honoring the cultures, disabilities, and various other things that we want those characters to have and be part of. We need more characters like Jinx, who's not portrayed as dangerous because she's traumatized and has hallucinations, but is largely dangerous because she's incredibly smart and builds cannons that look like sharks. We need more characters like Viktor who are deeply flawed and show all the signs of having a disability and chronic illness, but are reminded that they are perfect just the way they are. I think whoever was in charge of Arcane's research for the art team did an incredibly amazing job. They integrated a lot of things that artistic teams aren't really thinking about or incorporating, and I really hope the companies that are involved in the process of making TV shows and games actually learn from what Arcane has been doing. It would be really, really nice. Let's talk about something that is a little less sappy, but equally just as serious. You know what almost every single video game does to its female characters that often goes hand in hand with that whole racist stereotype thing? Spine-breaking designs and over-sexualization. This is a symptom of League for sure. It's very pervasive in Overwatch. We see it a lot in Genshin Impact and Diablo, etc, etc, etc. Every perceived female character is barely covered, her thighs or boobs are always out, and her back seems to be broken in about 5 places. It's frankly a boring and overdone trope that makes it look like artists don't know anything about women. You know who didn't put any of this in their TV show? Arcane. If any of the characters are shown in a more spicy light, they're not shown with awfully arched backs or barely covering their bits. Sure, there's a lot of low-riding trousers and Jinx really loves not wearing a shirt, but it's not this. I don't know who greenlit this, but they definitely need to be fired. Again, Arcane draws and designs their characters with a lot of respect. The difference between Jinx showing a lot of midriff and the schoolgirl character design for Diva is that one is meant to be pandering to sickos while the other character is just wearing whatever she wants. And both of these characters are not dissimilar in age either. There's a 2-year age gap between both of them, as far as I'm aware. I think Jinx is 17 and Diva is canonically 19, so that tells you a lot about what these game designers think when a girl turns 18. There's a way to tastefully put cutouts in people's outfits and not make them look like an ad for a sketchy website, if you catch my meaning. Not one of these characters look like they're going to fall over because they've had a terrible chest surgery, unlike a lot of mobile game characters I see. This is how you draw characters with gorgeous anatomy and shape language. It's not just the fact that all of the women in this show seem to have varying body types, it's also everyone else. You can tell there's a lot of love and thought put into how these people were designed, right down to their facial features. Vander is this brute of a man with a lot of square shapes, but he's also drawn somewhat chubby, whereas Silco is very pointy and is made up of a lot of sharp angles. There's not just these two body types either. We see Echo, who is very lean and muscular, and then we also have Jace, who is built like an absolute Dorito of a man. The whole spectrum is there, as is the whole spectrum is there for the women. As character designers, we need to be thinking about what we want the character to convey, but also what we want the character to say about themselves. And using shape language, either incredibly over-exaggerated or not over-exaggerated, is a really good way of trying to show that. I've got a couple videos on this already, most recently this one, where I talk about how you can do studies and break down various characters to give you a better idea on how to incorporate things like shape language when you're drawing. Don't just draw a really conventionally attractive woman, maybe try to draw her with longer features, really push what you can do with that, or maybe draw her built like Rhea Ripley and then give her a really soft and sweet set of facial features and demeanor. There's so much we can do as artists, and it really doesn't feel like a lot of people within the corporate space are actually trying to do anything with it. At the moment, there's a trend going around Instagram and TikTok pointing out how artists discover Arcane and then suddenly there's a huge shift in inspiration for them, and I think there's a huge reason for that. This TV show shows us that the sky is the limit, and really we're the only ones that are weighing ourselves down. And we're weighing ourselves down with really, really awful stereotypes that we shouldn't be using at all. We don't have to fit ourselves and our characters into boxes. Ever. As long as we're respectful about things and push ourselves to be more creative, we can make something absolutely amazing. I hope this was eye-opening, or at the very least entertaining. You gotta see a lot of clips from Arcane. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to drop a comment down below. It helps out with the algorithm. If you liked my video, maybe go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And if you really liked my video, maybe become a patron or a channel member. All of my socials are linked down in the description below. And I also have a second channel where I talk about video game lore, go through icebergs, deep dives, And I also judge you based on what romance you pick in certain video games. Aside from all of that, just remember, don't look in your attic. It's where I've stashed my hoard of that $250 skin of Jinx, and no, you cannot have one. I've got to keep her away from the incels somehow. Sorry. Jacques, Herald of the Dark Roast. Meg, Exarch of the Golden Egg. High Artisan Anonymous Bee. Great Alpha Wolf Squilliam William. Nairouz, Seer of Rosy Mercy. Ghost, Infernal Collector of the Damned. Golden Paladin Court. Isabella, Redeemer of Bad Himbos. Keeper of the Lapin Warren, Robin. Most Royal of all the Rats. Ethereal Consort of House Vicarian. Fungal Sovereign Taz. Exalted Curator Wick. The Underelf of Delphinia. Paragon of Starlight. An impossible amount of rat babies. Divine Herald Jordan. Astrea, Sage of the Outer Realms. Wretched Sauce of House Worcestershire. Champion Pallypunk of the Immortal Valley. Tailor of Macabre Coney Livery. Eternal Apostle Austin. The Contingent of Fables. The Eminence of Light, Bunny. Exarch of the Ornate Tomb. Harley the Sanguinous. Grand Overlord Silas. Being of Exalted Sunlight. Delegate of Clan Latineurs. Eternal Consul Puja. High Magi Katie. The Herald of Wrens. Knight Susan of the Milkiest Order. Great Seer Clare. And Sir Matthew, Guardian of the Preserved Apiary.